What do you guys think about the interdimensional theory? You're saying you see them mostly in the sky and in the water. Have you seen anything that would lead you to believe that they're actually appearing from another dimension?
I
Well,
mean,
that's something that's got to be looked at, and it should be on the table. I mean, if we're reaching towards an extraterrestrial hypothesis, I think it's just as reasonable to suggest the possibility of an ultra terrestrial hypothesis or a crypto terrestrial hypothesis. We're really not sure at this point, but there are things that the dynamics are very strange. We do see objects disappear and suddenly appear. They appear in one area of the sky and they seem to appear in another area of the sky, and it appears to be the same object.
mm-hmm.
So I mean, it should be on the table.
Right. Is that the case, or is it these objects that can just do instantaneous acceleration? I mean, with that we don't know. I mean, some of the sightings that are presented and if you listen to some of the experts like Dave Fravor, one of the Navy pilots that talked about the tic tac that basically bounced around like a ping pong ball, with without any inertia involved. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Or the Connecticut police officer that as he shined his police special, his flashlight up at it, that the object suddenly was just on the other side of the lake. Is it movement or is it interdimensional travel? We don't know that. We don't have any information other than some of the things that some of the data initially seems to be opening up or paving the way towards is some kind of a gravitational interaction, gravitational field, so especially gravitational lensing. Some of the telltale signs I think are out there. I mean, the changes in light, the characteristics of the light around these objects, or reflected light on it, or source light. I mean, you can see as these things are rotating, as they're moving, you can see red shift, blue shift. You can see some of this stuff, and we're also seeing the same patterns, very similar patterns with radio waves, with GPS signals, with LiDAR. Yeah, mm-hmm. I mean, it seems to be, I mean, of course, anything in the electromagnetic spectrum should behave in the same way as light, certainly radio waves. And what we've been doing is targeting or referencing large sea vessels out on the water, something as large as a freighter. I mean, so not a ship that's greater than 800 feet long. We get these huge reflections, huge returns. And we want to look at these objects at a distance. And when we do see these unknowns, these anomalous objects that is in the line of sight of the scanner, the radar dome, we can see certain patterns, and we've recorded them. They seem to have what they call anomalous propagation of the radio waves. The radio waves don't come; they're no longer directed back at the antenna. They seem to bounce around. They seem to lens, and they chase. You'll see these signals chasing over a PPI or the display of the radar system, and we'll see these things track in multiple quadrants, and which is kind of impossible because you're dealing with an arc rotation of only 5.2 degrees from the antenna, and it takes 2.5 seconds on a marine radar to make a complete 360. So it's moving past this point rapidly, and the fact that this signal is chasing the radar, the only thing that makes some degree of sense, is that it's being resynchronized as the radar is coming back around, and for a radio signal to take that kind of time, those are what they call long delay echoes. They're delayed echoes. Same thing with GPS signals. But this has been around. This has been recorded since the 1920s. These LDEs, they call them, or UFEs. The unexplained field echoes. So there's a history about it. Radio engineers have known about it. People, of course, that have been using radar, whether it's active, passive, or whatnot, it's producing the same effect. And if there is gravitational lensing going on out there, It can certainly explain the multipath signals. It can certainly explain the long delays, the tracks, the the quadrant tracks that these objects take. And it's basically, like I said, you'll see an object on the scope at a certain range marker, and you'll see an almost like a circular painting of the object, almost completely around 360 degrees on that display, which is odd, which means that the signal is coming back late.
And I should also mention that John's saying that we're detecting an anomalous object on radar, along with maybe the ship in the background,
Right.
that creates this long creates the visual of this long delay echo on the radar. But the fact is, we also have other data points. We have multispectral cameras that are also catching these same objects within the vicinity of, let's say, of a ship, or when it's in between us and a ship. Is when we'll see these long delay echoes.